Honourable Member for St James North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is one of the most anticipated bills that have come before this Parliament in the 5 years of office of this country, of this party. And in fact, this is the second occasion that integrity legislation has been brought before this Parliament. It requires, of course, 2/3 majority, sir, because it affects constitutionally the issue of privacy and property of persons, and therefore correctly, the bill itself says that it changes the Constitution, constitutional provisions, and therefore requires 2/3 majority of both houses of Parliament. On the last occasion, of course, sir, that 2/3 majority was comfortably acquired with this government having all 30 seats. We're in that position again, sir, in this lower and elected chambers. I can only hope, sir, that on this occasion, unlike last time, the 2/3 majority is achieved in the upper house. As the Honourable Attorney General said, sir, we in here, elected parliamentarians by the people, have no control over what goes on in the Senate in terms of their voting capacity, sir. The reality, and I'm saying this, sir, to explain to the public, sir, because a lot of the public have these conspiracy theories that there was some maneuver by the Barbados Labour Party government in the last session when this bill was brought to ensure that it didn't pass because we politicians in here didn't want the legislation come in because we don't want to declare our assets and liabilities. Sir, let me dispel this up front, sir, because that is abject nonsense, sir. Under our Constitution, from the time we had a constitution as an independent country in 1966, 12 of the 21 members of the Senate are appointed by the party that is in government, sir. Out of those 12, one is made the presiding officer, the president of the Senate. So that is 11 people who vote in. So for any constitutional change, sir, you require 2/3. So in other words, you have to carry along 3 persons, sir, who are not members or appointed by the Prime Minister of the day. So this means that 3 independent senators at least have to vote for any constitutional amendment or any bill that constitutionally that amends constitutionally our supreme law of the land, sir. And I have to have the optimism which the Attorney General said he has, that 3 at least, in fact, I hope all of the 9 independent senators vote along with the 11 government senators to bring in this bill, sir. And why, sir? Because this is necessary. This is primary, sir. In fact, sir, when I first came in this Parliament as an opposition MP, I was absolutely embarrassed, sir, absolutely embarrassed that the government of the day, from the then Prime Minister down, felt comfortable presiding politically over a country and administration that had a Prevention of Corruption Act that was 100 years old, 1927 Act, based on a 1919 UK Act, sir, where you had to lodge a prosecution within 6 months, as you're well aware, sir, because you're an expert in criminal law, where the fine maximum punishment was $2,400, sir, where it was so difficult to bring somebody before the courts for corrupt practices and where the then Prime Minister, sir, the last Prime Minister before the Honourable Prime Minister today, said that there was no need for any legislation, that legislation was good enough, sir. Where the then Attorney General, in fact, said, sir, that he had no money to spend on establishing any anti-corruption commission, that he didn't feel it was necessary, sir. He had other uses for wherever money they had, sir. I understand that, sir. After money goes astray in corrupt practices, where you're not going to have any money for certain things that are necessary, but it's a question of priority, sir. But that's what the then Attorney General said too. But sir, this is fundamental, sir, and let me take a couple minutes to explain why it is fundamental. It is estimated, sir, that 4% of gross domestic products, GDP, in low to middle income developing countries is lost through corruption and through corrupt practices, sir. The Honourable Senior Minister, member for St. James Central, estimated that in his speech today, sir, at between $2.5 trillion to $2.75 trillion a year, sir, annually, globally, lost because of corrupt practices by people in high places, sir. You could understand, Mr. Speaker, what could happen annually if $2.5 trillion to bring the lower end was available for poor people housing, for poor people education, for poor people health care, for infrastructural development in countries across the globe, but for corrupt practices, but for money going in through bribery. And as it says, sir, it takes two for a transaction for bribe, a briber and a bribee. You can understand what would happen, sir. But let's not talk esoterically, globally, sir. Let's talk about Barbados, sir, because after all, we're dealing with Barbados here today, sir. I'm only a parliamentarian in Barbados, sir, even though I regard myself as a CARICOM citizen, sir, and a person of the world. In Barbados, in a report a few years ago, it was estimated that $500 million, sir, is lost to the economy and the GDP of Barbados annually because of corruption and corrupt practices. $500 million, sir. Can understand it if this government had that $500 million every year, sir. What we could do to enhance the lives of constituents, the constituents of all of us who need help on a daily basis, who call us on a daily basis for all kinds of needs, sir. 5% of our population, of our GDP, sir, lost. That's what that report estimated is lost because of corrupt practices. So I felt extremely uncomfortable, sir, being in that parliament as an opposition MP with no inclination whatsoever by a then Democratic Labour Party administration to change anything on this. Don't mind, sir, that they had promised in their 2008 manifesto that within 90 days they would have enacted prevention of corruption and integrity legislation, sir. But having made that promise, and in my opinion, sir, having got a lot of people to vote for them on that promise, sir, they did nothing about it, save bringing a Prevention of Corruption Act in 2012, December, just before the called election in February that year, and the act therefore could not pass, sir. Or I think it passed Parliament, sir, but then couldn't be proclaimed by the Her Excellence, by the head of state, sir, at that time. And therefore, under our laws, it died. It died, sir, because Parliament was prorogued. in January 2012, sir. So, first thing, sir, I commend the Honorable Attorney General for bringing this legislation yet again, albeit a bit too long after, sir. It failed in 2020, sir. And the Honorable Attorney General, sir, will tell you, and the Honorable Prime Minister as well, that on many occasions last year, I asked, when is this legislation coming back before Parliament? What is happening? We need this legislation. I am not comfortable as a member of Parliament, a politician, sir, and I suffer. I in double jeopardy, sir, because I'm a lawyer too, sir. It's a politician and lawyer. So naturally, you know, a lot of people feel that you're corrupt, sir. So I commend the Honorable Attorney General for bringing this piece of legislation back, sir. I commend the work of the Joint Select Committee of Parliament, sir, for the work it did in now bringing this new look legislation back in. It hasn't been changed fundamentally, sir, but it's been changed in some areas which we will speak to, sir. A report, 700 and something pages, sir, of that Joint Select Committee. Very informative. The submissions made, sir, by a lot of organizations, the other political parties, sir, and therefore there should be no political divide on this issue, sir. As I said, 15 years ago, it was the Democratic Labour Party's manifesto promise to do what we are doing here today and what we have done with other pieces of legislation. The integrity group, sir, for whom high praise has to be given, sir, for the effort they have made, the time they have taken, their whole value in helping bring us back here today, sir. And of course, we can't recognize strangers, but some of them are here today, sir. And I want to commend them and place that on record, sir. And included in that, sir, of course, is 2 government ministers in the other place. They are members of, or were members, probably not know that they're government ministers of the integrity group, sir. Senator Lisa Cummings, Minister, and Senator Chantel Monroe-Knight, sir. They're part of, or were part of this group, and therefore have to take some credit for the work that they have done. Sir, Barbados, and continuing to put this whole issue in perspective. Barbados, our beloved country, sir, before 2018, before this Parliament or this government, in the last session of Parliament, domesticated the Anti-Corruption, Prevention of Corruption Act in 2021, sir. Barbados was the only one of 2 countries out of 140 countries globally, sir, 140 countries globally, that had signed on to the United Nations 2003 Convention Against Corruption, not to have domesticated or ratified that convention, sir. I want to put that in perspective, sir. 140 countries, in other words, a large percentage of the 195 countries that are member states of the United Nations, had signed on, in other words, agreed that corruption is a serious, serious thing that needs to be stamped out as far as possible. And in 2003, this convention came into effect, sir. And 18 years after, 18 years it took for Barbados to domesticate that convention, bring it into our law, so that America or another foreign country would not have to arrest a Barbados politician and jail them, sir, as was done. This is something, sir, that the people speak about. But we couldn't do it, sir, in the first term because we didn't have the law. I just said what the law was. The only other country beside Barbados that hadn't domesticated this UN convention or ratified it, sir, was Syria, sir. So we were in the company of Syria. Well, there ain't anything that any Bajan who is patriotic should be proud of. In addition, sir, Barbados was the second last country in 34 Organization of American member states, sir, to ratify the Inter-American Convention Against Corruption, which was done in January 2018. Having signed it 17 years before that, in 2001, we didn't bring it in. Only in 2018, sir, second last. It's as if Barbadians or the political representatives who were in office so felt that Barbados was some special place immune from corruption and turning a blind eye to corruption when everybody know that there are corrupt practices in this country, sir, at high level by people who hire up business people, sir, and at low level, sir, in revenue earning departments, sir, revenue, immigration, customs, sir, traditionally. And I must say, sir, it is regrettable that after, and I take some praise too, work was done as Home Affairs Minister, sir, and was followed on by the Honorable Member for Christchurch East in his capacity now as Home Affairs Minister to bring the Immigration Department as perhaps the most customer-friendly department in this country, that this week you could read that an immigration officer was found guilty before the courts of Barbados for corrupt practice, sir. Let down the team, sir. But this is the reality of Barbados, sir. And what we are doing today is absolutely necessary, because you could do all the fiscal reform and the economic reform, sir, but if there is corruption, sir, it could be brought to naught. $500 million is a lot of $1 million, sir. And as Edmund Burke said, among a people generally corrupt, liberty cannot exist. So, sir, let us look at some of the provisions of this bill that cause some problems with some of the public and with some of the senators on the last occasion, sir. Declarations shall be given by persons who are named in the first schedule, second schedule to the Act, specified persons in public life, sir. Declarations shall be full, true, complete, particulars of the income and assets and liabilities of specified persons, as well as the spouse and dependent children, sir. You have to bring in spouse and dependent children because they're part of you, sir. So you can't exclude spouse and dependent children, sir. The reality, as the Honorable Attorney General said, is that each and every cabinet minister, when I was a cabinet minister, I had to give mine too, sir. Had to give these declarations even in the absence of legislation. This is nothing, sir, to be afraid of, sir, if you're honest. Because as the Honorable Member for St. Michael, South Central, just said, sir, all persons, politically exposed persons, have to give these declarations and fill out these forms at the present time now, sir, for the last few years to banks and financial institutions. So there's no burden by anyone in this parliament, whether upper or lower house, or anyone who is politically exposed person, sir, and that goes down to chairman of boards and heads of departments, and all those other people who right now are defined as politically exposed persons by financial institutions who have to fill out a whole set of forms, sir. There's never any week in my life that I don't have a form from one of the financial institutions that may have some interest in my money, sir, that I have to fill out, and I fill it out, sir. Well, it's part of serving in public life and being in public service. So there is no additional burden that will be placed by anyone who has to vote on this bill, whether in this parliament today or in the other place, beyond what they already do. And it concerns her that, well, so the only challenge, sir, is that, as I said, you also have to declare your spouse's income, sir. No. Let's face reality, sir. There are some members and people who may not know the spouse income. Whether your spouse is a man or in the case of a woman or a woman in the case of a man. So, I mean, like, so you might have to go and ask your spouse, but man, tell me, where's your income here? I got this form I got to fill out, sir. I mean, it's all right if they're a public officer, because you could look in the annual emoluments and salary and see what a salary is. But for instance, I had to ask my wife. I didn't know what her income was. So that might be a challenge for some people, sir. And spouse, of course, includes common law spouse. So those people, specified persons in public life.
Some of whom might be laughing now.
Yeah, sir. But I let them know that they are a court too. They might not be in a formal marriage, but common law spouse, obviously, as has been the law of Barbados, as you know, sir, since 1979, Family Law Act included, sir, so you can't get way there. And your dependent children, obviously, sir, because you don't want anybody now going and transfer anything into a dependent child's name, sir, and saying that they don't have to declare. So, sir, that is the position. In terms, sir, of the concern that this is Barbados and small country and it's not going to be kept confidential and secret, sir, can't be an issue. Because when you fill out a form and give it to a bank or insurance company, do you wonder whether the person at the insurance company or the bank going to disclose, sir? But you can't tell the bank, man, I'm not giving this information because I feel that somebody inside the bank going to let out how much I have, sir. You got to fill it out. So where's the problem? And as the Honorable Attorney General said, sir, we are into an age where people in these confidential and sensitive positions have to take lie detector tests or some other truth verification test, sir. And that will have to happen here because the people who work in the commission must be people with the highest degree of integrity as well. And I have no problem whatsoever with that, sir. Sir, the issue of judges came up as to whether judges should be included. They were not included last time. Judges who will be appointed after the enactment or proclamation of this legislation will be included, sir. And that is only fit and proper thing to do, sir. And, sir, I am not getting into any internal wranglings of the Democratic Labour Party, which will play out next month, sir. Whoever is elected as president, sir, the DLP, sir, I couldn't care less, sir. Whichever one of the 5 elected, it don't matter to me, sir. But I must say that I was concerned by the statement made in February this year by the present president of the Democratic Labour Party, because you don't know if he will be president in the next 6 weeks, sir, that about how these judges now should be included, sir, when anybody with any modicum of understanding of Barbados constitutional law, sir, which I did in 2nd year at university, law faculty, sir, I don't know what year you do it now, if you still do it in 2nd or 1st, would know that you cannot alter certain people's terms and conditions adversely, sir. And that is provided in the Constitution. And therefore, judges and the Auditor General and the DPP, sir, are those who presently occupy those offices which has constitutional protection, cannot be presently included. But obviously, we are including future appointed persons holding those positions within the ambit of this law, sir. Because clearly you will be changing, and I don't know if the now president doesn't understand the ambit of the act, sir. But obviously, sir, you can't say your terms and conditions can't be changed adversely, but then make you sign a form now saying where your assets and liabilities of you and your spouse and children are, sir. But that's common sense. In addition to being basic 101 constitutional law. So, sir, that's the position with that. There will be a fine of $100,000 or 2 years imprisonment for revealing information received by the commission by virtue of the act, sir. Hefty fine, some jail time too, if you are found to have revealed in public, even to the person who lies downside you in the night, any information that you receive in your capacity as a member of the commission. Oaths of secrecy have to be taken, sir. Well, this legislation goes as far as is humanly possible to try to safeguard the privacy of the information that would be disclosed, sir. It's not a perfect piece of legislation. There's no legislation that is perfect. Indeed, there's nothing made by man in this world that is perfect, sir. But it goes as far as can be at this time of our development. So the chairman of the commission is to be a person who has held high judicial office anywhere in the Commonwealth, sir, and only in Barbados. Just like how we opened up appointment of judges 3-4 years ago, sir, throughout the Commonwealth, sir, anybody could apply, sir, not as it was before, a prime minister pick up a pen, write a leader of the opposition, I appoint in X, Y, I recommend in X, Y to the head of state to be appointed, that regarded as a consultation, X, Y appointed. Not so now, sir. People from all over the world, once you were a judge, held judicial office, could be appointed by the president after consultation with the prime minister and leader of the opposition, sir. And as the Honorable Attorney General said, sir, the president has a discretion in that area, sir. In the case of the chairmanship of the commission, the other one, sir, the other appointment by the discretion of Her Excellency would be the attorney at law of at least 10 years standing after consultation with the Barbados Bar Association. And then the accountant, sir, yes, the accounting group, Chartered Accountants Association had a lot to say throughout the history of this process, sir. And Her Excellency would also have that appointment, an appointment of an accountant at least 10 years standing after consultation with a body representing the accountants, so whether it's the Chartered Accountants Association or whatever body Her Excellency feels she should consult with. And there are only two, what I would call political appointments, sir. I have to give, in my submission, sir, Prime Minister some leeway, sir. Prime Minister has one pick, sir. Leader of the opposition, another pick, sir. A member of the clergy as well, sir, is also included. And a lot of the changes, sir, when you read the report of the Joint Standing Committee, were in fact recommended by persons appearing either in person or by written memorandum before the Joint Committee of Parliament, sir. So you have a member of the clergy included in it as well. There'll be a code of conduct, sir, which is in the 4th schedule of the Act. And that's standard, sir. Well, there must be some code of conduct, some guide by which people in public life must be judged by and must hold aloft as to what they should aim for. So that is standard globally. And I must say, sir, public officers, sir, throughout the public service, throughout the civil service, ought to be trained as well in such areas as good governance and in understanding what is bribery when they see it, sir, and in anti-corruption practices, because the day-to-day running of a government is carried out within the public service by public officers, sir. The Integrity Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any person or authority, sir. That is clearly stated up front in Section 4.2 of the bill, sir. In other words, a Prime Minister or Minister can't call an Integrity Commission and say, man, I hear, man, that you're investigating XY. XY happened to be my good friend, my cousin, my wife, best friend. You gotta stop that investigation. Can't be done. Independence of authority and of direction or control, sir. There's association with the Anti-Corruption and Anti-Terrorism Agency to conduct an investigation on its behalf. That too is upfront early in the act, sir. So these are the safeguards, sir, which this act speaks to. The issue of blind trust, sir, and even in the absence of him now being a senator, sir, one member of the previous Senate has raised the issue of blind trust, sir. I don't know, sir. Blind trust is a universally accepted device, instrument, by which persons in public life, persons in politics, persons serving as cabinet ministers can put their assets and their assets in this vehicle, this trust, to avoid the creation or even the perception of conflict of interest, sir. Because let's face facts, sir, we're a small country. The human resources are limited. If there ever was someone who qualified under this legislation to be asked to put their assets in blind trust because they had a lot of assets, sir, and because the potential for conflict of interest could arise because the position they were in, sir. You couldn't tell them, sir, they must sell their assets, sir. I mean, you work hard for your assets, sir. That is the truth. And so therefore, this is universally accepted in England, in Europe, in North America, sir, countries that we say are well developed, as a vehicle that you could put your business in, control over the trust and its assets given to an independent trustee, whether an individual or financial institution, who may buy and sell assets without the consent or knowledge of the beneficiary, sir. The beneficiary don't know what the trustee doing. And your spouse and your children don't know, sir, because it is within the total discretion of the trustee, sir. So you have to file the agreement, the blind trust agreement you have with the commission. So lodge it with the commission. So, and this is standard. So we can't hold up a bill over blind trust. The issue, sir, of, as I said, sir, this law is not perfect, but it is the best we can do in the circumstances, sir. And this administration has to be absolutely commended for all the transparency, good governance, and accountability pieces of legislation that it has brought to this parliament in the last 5 years, sir. In compliance not only with the Barbados Labour Party manifestos of 2018 and 2022, but also with our covenant of hope. We have stated clearly that in our 2022 manifesto, page 18, sir, of course, the document of the House, we will therefore strengthen governance of all government's affairs, ensuring that our public affairs are managed in a manner that is transparent, participatory, equitable, responsible, inclusive, and people-centered, sir. So we have brought, in the last 5 years, sir. In fact, in the last 4, the Proceeds and Instrumentalities of Crime Act 2019. So, sir, if you get money, property through ill-gotten gains, there's a process which it can be taken away from you. You could be charged. The Whistleblower Protection Act 2021, sir. Very important piece of legislation, especially within the context of our community, where people, in a lot of cases, know about wrongdoings, but through fear, do not report it, sir. So we have whistleblower legislation to protect you so that you can feel confident in disclosing to the relevant authorities when you know of wrongdoing. Prevention of Corruption Act, sir, we spoke about that already, 2021 Act. Sir, replacing an act of 100 years before that when they had no computers, no social media, nothing at all, but was said to be fit for purpose by the last administration. We had the Anti-Corruption and Anti-Terrorism Acts again, 2021 as well. Remediation Agreements, Deferred Prosecution Act, 2021 as well, sir. And in terms of fiscal and financial management, this government also laid in Parliament and enacted and proclaimed the Public Finance Management Act of 2019 and its regulations in 2021, and the Public Procurement Act in 2021, sir, which relates to procurement, sir. And procurement is very important, sir, extremely significant.
You all remember has 2 more minutes?
Thank you, sir. Because, of course, this is where a lot of the thief-free and corruption could have gone on, sir. The reality, sir, is that, as I said, we are behind the post on this issue. Because Trinidad had this legislation since 2000. Guyana had it since 1997. Antigua since 2004. Grenada since 2013. Just this week, sir, we heard that St. Kitts had passed integrity legislation. Sir, now, as I said, sir, the act is not perfect. Debate can be had as to whether it should have gone wider in terms of including other persons in public life, sir. The Honorable Attorney General said who it includes the members of Parliament and chairpersons, the statutory boards, chief executive officers, general managers, other executives of heads of state-owned enterprises. But you have to deal with resources, sir, because realize that all these people, and if you had included as Grenada did, sir, all police officers, all immigration officers, all prison officers, all inland revenue officers, all labor officers, sir. What has happened in Grenada and in Trinidad, sir, which has also included all members of statutory boards and statutory enterprises, is that there's been a backlog in terms of processing the declarations that have been filed, sir. So we are starting out with it narrowly to include the chairpersons, but for example, and the permanent secretaries, but not because it includes heads of departments and persons of that grade, so it include permanent secretaries, but not DPSs, sir. But you have to deal with the reality, and let's deal with the resources we have and be comfortable with that, when I have no doubt later on, sir, that category of persons will be expanded. But as the Honorable Attorney General said, sir, you have a situation where other persons will be subject to lie detector tests probably on a 2-year basis, as is the case here in terms of submission of your declaration every 2 years, sir, and not every year as may have been proposed, sir. Nelson Mandela, one of the greatest men of the last century, sir, said great peacemakers are all people of integrity, of honesty, but humility, sir. I could speak, sir, for myself on this issue, sir, just to draw quickly, sir, 2 examples. When I was an opposition MP, sir, a constituent of mine called me about a traffic offense and wanted me to call somebody to get the offense done away with. So I told him, sir, you called the wrong person. You called the wrong person here today. You can go and pay that $200, $400, whatever fine the magistrate put on you. The person responded by telling me he ain't voting for me again. And yes, sir, the truth is he has not voted me. He didn't vote for me last 2 elections, sir. And that he isn't buying any more fundraising tickets from my charity, sir. I said, that is all right too, sir. That is a small price to pay, sir. But I'm not doing that. Call the wrong person, sir. I'm someone, sir, who practiced law in this country for almost 40 years, never once had a complaint made to the Barbados Bar Association for anything I did, sir. Whether not doing work, whether for thieving money, charging excessive fees, whatever, sir. Your integrity cannot be compromised by anyone. When you leave politics, sir, you have to have your integrity in check, sir. Let them say that you're incompetent.
Please wind up.
Yes, sir, I'm winding up. But don't let them say that you had no integrity, sir. Sir, I support this bill wholeheartedly, sir, and look forward to when it can come into law, sir. There are also regulations that have to be made. I could only hope that those regulations are not delayed either, and that this bill comes into full force as law at the earliest possible time. I thank you for your indulgence, sir.
Honorable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until 2:30 p.m.
Question that this Honorable Chamber be suspended until 2:30 p.m. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. This Honorable Chamber stands suspended until 2:30 p.m.